What was the target that you set for yourself on the 1st of January 2022? Was it to read as much books as possible, or did you set yourself a target to reach a specific number, to read 50 books or 100 books this year? So in the last video, I have given you my reason why I think reading is so important hobby into our life and how it has helped me change my life, my mindset. But then I used to get to the point when I questioned myself whether I have used the time that I have effectively. Did I just skim through as much books as possible so that I can say I read 60 books a year? How much of that information I managed to apply into my life, or I end up just curved into a ball, getting analysis paralysis and having all that information overload but actually not be able to use those information at all. So I was reflecting over it and I thought it's so difficult to find a book that really resonates with you. So we need to learn how to extract as much information as possible. So I wanted to implement several changes to help me read and extract the critical information and apply it into my life. And in this video, these are several tips that I've used to help me read more effectively, and I hope you find them useful. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. If you are new to my channel, my name's Lynn. I'm an overseas student from Vietnam who has the privilege to live and work in the UK for the last 11 years. I am now working as a pharmacist, and I'm using this channel to share all of the learnings that I've gathered through my time of living and working in the UK, sharing about my knowledge in pharmacy and also sharing the experience, the learning that I've got about personal finance and how it helped me to fast-track my financial freedom and live the best life that I possibly could. And in this video today, I would like to share with you several tips that I've used to improve my reading. Tip number 1 is to focus on the critical information. This is something that I've learned through How to Read a Book, helping us how to skim read through the books much more effectively by focusing on the critical information on the paragraph. And these are the things that they normally document on maybe the first sentences or the last sentences, or paying attention to all of the bold heading, the illustration. When the author like to explain a critical point, an argument, they tend to use an example to explain their point. Sometimes they might use several examples, and if we're just focusing on those tiny details, it could be quite time consuming. If you want to research further on the example, then you can pay attention to it. But if you just want to focus on the critical point, then I would suggest us to focusing on the bold heading. There's different way and different method of reading, so I guess if we manage to capture the critical point, and if we can apply it and research through it later on, or if you want to capture the critical ideas and then using other ways of learning such as visualizing or listening, then your brain will learn and capture those critical point much more effectively. The moment I'm reading through The Second Brain by Tiago Forte, and how we can capture those information and store them in the second brain so that we don't have to just try to memorize all that information. I will make sure that I record those learning into another video. Tips number 2 is give your brain the time to process information. We are constantly bombarded with all that information, and your brain is so easy to get overloaded with all that input into it. So if you are reading through a book, you read through a summary and what the key point the author wants to give it to you. So how would you like to use that to apply those lessons into your life? How has it changed your perception about certain topic that you would like to explore? Then spend time to reflect on them. What are the critical lessons that you've gathered from them? Did you agree or disagree with the author? Give your brain the time to process it. As you get through a chapter, then write down what are the key points that you managed to gather from that. Critically analyze them. How is it relevant? Especially when we read through non-fiction book, we likely to believe whatever the author tells us. We take their advice as gospel, but actually it's like when we are at uni, we learn to critically analyze them and form your own opinion about a piece of information. I think the author, again, they also human being and they are subject to human bias. They might be just spend a lot of their time focusing on one single topic, that they spend a lot of time doing their research and they're reading around that same topic. That's why I think that they might be subject to selection bias. I find that reading through the comment on Goodreads, when people also giving their opinion about the topic, and it's useful as well because everyone will be able to pick up different key points on books that you might miss. The other methods that I find it's quite useful before buying a book is that I like to read through the summary of the book on maybe a documentation, maybe just a little short summary on YouTube, or reading through the review on the internet about the book before I buy it. You know, you might be asking, maybe that's probably easier if we just read through the summary, then why do we have to waste our time to read through the book? It could be a valid question. I mentioned before, everybody will have different opinion, everyone have a ton of reason, and we are going to pick up a completely different argument, different opinion, different idea from one same book that we consume. The other tip that I've got for you guys is that do not be afraid to drop off the book that you are reading through. Whether you are halfway through the book or nearly at the end of the book, think if you're reading through a book and you are not taking any information from the book, or the lessons that they have given you is not really relevant for you at this moment in time. If you like myself and you like to read through non-fiction book or self-development book, I've used to feel guilty for not being able to finishing the book, reading through it halfway, and then force myself to just like skim read through them so that I can tell myself that I finished that book and I'm not starting a project and have finished halfway through them and move on to the next one. So it's about reading effectively. Do not be afraid to just drop it off and move on to the next book. The books that are actually giving you the information that resonated with you. You can learn the lesson from it and apply it directly into your life. Again, you can always go back to it later on in your life. You know what the book is about. The other methods that I've tried to help me read much more effectively is use Audible books. This is something that I recently started in 2022, and it's helped me so much read much faster and capture information much more faster, especially as I am commuting to work on the train. Any books that are really thick and it takes a lot of time to digest, then I save those credits to buy on my Audible book and I can just listening to them on my way to work. And again, I touched up on this point before, when I think that our brain love variety way of learning. If we read physical copy book, but if we have the opportunity to listen to it as well, is a bonus. And sometimes you'll be able to listen to the author themselves that reading through the book and listening to their voice. They'll be able to emphasize on the key points that they have in the books, and I just find it's really helpful. Number one, we'll be listening through them on Audible, and then I would get up to go buy a physical copy book. And number three will be when I have time to actually sit and have a cup of tea and highlight through the key point about the book, because I know there's in that chapter which section I would like to highlight and then save them on my Notion, and I will be able to use them later on if I want to. For example, if I do a recording, then I can just go back to my Notion notes and read through them before I do any recording. So the final tip that I've tried so far to help me read effectively is learn to read with a purpose. So my purpose about reading this book is to gain extra knowledge. So these are the books that I've written so far, and my purpose of reading this book is to learn to understand about them, gain extra knowledge, but also share it with other people. So that was the whole reason why I started this channel in the first place, because I want to be able to share the learning that I've got with other people, so that even if the knowledge that I've gathered could have an impact even just one person, then for me that's useful enough. And research has shown that by sharing the information with other people, by teaching others, you can record the information by 90%. So that just double whammy, is the extra bonus. So that was the final tips that I've got for you guys to read much more effectively. I hope you find these videos useful. If you have learned even just one thing from the video, why not like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much for listening, and I look forward to see you again in the next video. Take care and goodbye.